Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another very special, as always, episode of the Hyperconscious Podcast. Look at this. Look at this salt lamp behind me.
Salt lamp.
We hope you enjoyed our latest episode where we did a live mastermind on selling with integrity. Today, for episode number 393, we're getting up there, we are going to do an episode on staying power. We recently talked a lot about consistency. But what happens if you don't continue doing what you're doing? Like, you can be consistent for a week, for a month, for a year. But staying power is like year after year after year after year. And the people who make the biggest differences in the world show up every single day. They keep going, they keep going. Dave Meltzer.
Right.
Dave Meltzer. Good example. Rome wasn't built in a day. It was built every day.
Ooh.
That's staying power.
That's
every single day showing up. So we're going to talk about that and why it's so important to you.
So, happy 4th of July, everyone.
Yes,
which
happy
was
4th of July.
This past weekend,
Yes.
Independence Day, freedom. Hope everyone had an awesome weekend. Also, we're in great moods because the gyms are now open, and
Yes.
Kevin and I have officially gone back to the gym as of today, which we will be talking about on one of the episodes this week as well. So, Kevin, when we got into the studio, wanted to talk about staying power because I believe you mentioned on your coaching calls that you often ask this question. So, can we go into that?
Yeah, so when I'm doing a podcast consultation or I'm working with my clients, my main thing is to figure out what their goal is. And one of the questions I always get is like, what are some tips and tricks to grow my show? And I always say consistency and staying power. If you do 25 episodes, you're not going to grow your show. Right. It just doesn't work that way. It's the people that keep showing up over and over and over again. And I think, when we're talking about being consistent is hard, so isn't staying.
Yeah.
It's harder. It's easy to be consistent for a week or for a month or for 6 months. But like, what happens when you're consistent and then you fall off? What happens when you fail? What happens when you get an opportunity and it doesn't go the way you want it to? What happens when your relationship you're struggling with your relationship? What happens when you're struggling with belief? Like, so many things, so many circumstances can happen, but it's up to you to keep showing up, especially, and again, not even when it's hard, especially when it's hard.
Yeah, that's a fire distinction. Imagine someone who's in an intimate relationship and they jump from relationship to relationship to relationship because they keep telling themselves this just must not be the right person. But if you look back at, let's say this person had dated, 50 people, for lack of better, just for hypothetical. Let's say the moment the relationship gets hard, they run away instead of face the challenge and grow from it. I remember one time I was sitting down in Panera eating lunch with one of my millionaire mentors. And I talk about him often. I keep him anonymous, but he was the CEO of several billion-dollar tech companies. Now, the reason I say that is because he knows some things. He knows a lot. And I'm often picking his brain. And he said, Alan, you want to work with people who walk toward the fire. They don't run from it. And he, again, like at his last company, I think it was thousands of employees he led, and he's always looking for the people that have what Kevin's referring to as staying power. In other words, when stuff gets hard and it gets heated, do you run out of that room or are you facing those fires head on? And so I guess one of the questions I want to ask you, because you want to do this episode, is we are coming up on 400 episodes.
We are.
We do have a lot of staying power, and it's interesting because for us that's so normal. But whenever I tell someone we do 5 episodes a week and that we've never missed, they're seeing the now. They don't see how hard it was to do 1 a week, then 2 a week, then 3 a week, then 4 a week, now 5 a week. We didn't start here. So from your perspective, why do you believe we had such staying power in hindsight?
Because we decided in advance.
Right.
It would have been easier so many times not to upload the episode, not to record, not to bring our stuff on the road, not to get that guest, not to do it on Saturday, not to do it on Sunday, not to do it at 8:15 in the morning. I think we did that with Near and with Lauren
Tickner. Yeah, that was at 11 a.m. But
right?
I remember we had to leave. I was at Otis with Emilia, and
right.
we had to literally leave at like 8 a.m. And there was a bunch of prep work.
You have to have a reason. There's no... If you don't have a reason to keep showing up over and over and over and over, and like especially when it's hard, I think it has to be part of your identity. Yeah. It has to be part of your identity. And like every morning when I do my journaling, I write 1,000 speeches and 5,000 podcasts. Nice. Like I want to do 1,000 speeches, and if you think about it, that's 20 years at 50 speeches a year. That's one a week for 20 years. That's a lot of speeches.
Yes, it is.
5,000 podcasts that's a lot of podcasts.
Yeah.
That's 1,000 weeks.
52 times 5 is 210? Yeah, 210.
52 times 5?
Yeah.
5 times 5 is 25. It'd be 260, I believe.
260? 52 times 5? Yeah, 260. Okay. So that means 260 a year.
Yeah.
Have you reverse engineered 5,000? 5,000, how many
Just
years
forever,
is that?
Forever.
2,600. That means 2,600 episodes per decade. That means you can accomplish that in 20 years from right now.
Yeah.
That's
And
cool.
it's deciding in advance. And this
Right.
is another thing, too. So a couple things. One of the reasons I wanted to do this episode was because if you don't have the staying power, you're not learning nearly as much as you could.
Right.
If you, like, again, I worked at my job longer than I wanted to, but I had this moment recently where Taryn's dad was down for the 4th of July, and we were talking about, like, old jobs and the stuff that we learned. Like, I know how to drive a trailer. I know how to hook up a trailer. I know how to back up a trailer. I know how to drive so many different vehicles. I know so many different things. Like, I'm very proficient with tools. I never knew how to use tools before that. I had enough staying power to deal with the crap that I took away the benefits.
Right.
And again, I always use the analogy for the video game. Like, if you might lose level 1 1,000 times, but if you keep going, you'll learn way more than you would have if you quit. Another thing, and this is interesting, UFC, big UFC this weekend, big one, can't wait. Jorge Masvidal. Oh, the TV just jeffs all the time. I'll get it.
Snag that. I'll hold space.
Jorge
go ahead.
Masvidal has been fighting for 17 years, I think.
Yeah.
This is going to be his 49th professional fight, and he's fighting for the title. 49th professional fight. No fighter has fought that many times before getting a title shot. He has staying power.
Yeah.
He also loves this. Dave Meltzer interviewed him, actually.
Really?
Yeah. I would love that.
We'll have to ask Dave for an introduction.
But that is staying power. He showed Tom Brady. He's been playing. One of the reasons he's the best ever is because he's been playing for 19 years.
yeah.
He has staying power. It consistently shows up. So, and we're going to do at some point, we're going to do an episode on why it's so important to love what you do in terms of, like, work.
Yeah.
But think about it. It's going to be so much harder for you to consistently show up with high quality
Yeah.
if you're doing something you don't like.
I looked at my Instagram recently, and again, this episode's not about us. It's about using examples and tangible examples from our experience that hopefully you can take and learn from. I think I'm up to almost 1,700 Instagram posts. I remember the very first time I ever started an Instagram, and I felt so behind because Instagram was big even when I was in college, or at least it was getting big. And I remember looking back, I had like 20 posts, and I remember thinking to myself, like, oh my God, this mountain looks so big. Now I'm at 1,700, and it's become normal. So here's a good analogy for staying power. What is your 10,000 staircase? Instead of waking up every morning looking all the way up the staircase at that huge mountain and getting overwhelmed, and then instead of taking that next step looking at Facebook or getting distracted because of the overwhelm, why not set up the staircase, check in with the staircase once a week or monthly or whatever it is, and then each day just try to take that next step. For me, what I've started doing, and again, I think this is part of why we've been so consistent, is I wake up in the morning, I immediately put on my morning mindset workout, I go to my whiteboard, and I start writing out and planning my day. This morning, I wrote out probably 10 to 15 things that needed to get done, or that I thought needed to get done. I circled them, I put them in order of most importance, and I literally ended up crossing out probably half or more. I got the important ones done based on the time I had to make sure I wasn't late to the studio and to make sure I got my workout in. But the thing is like, consistency is the true sign of commitment. Let's say you're in an intimate relationship and you have a fight. Do you decide to go read a book and learn the love languages because you care about this person enough? Or do you leave and find another intimate partner? That's going to make the biggest difference. Now, I do agree there's a point where you might want to pivot, but I think masters and dabblers, masters keep showing up no matter what. If you started playing tennis when you were 5 years old and you stuck with it for 20 years, I don't care if you're in the most unresourceful state and show up drunk. You're going to crush me at tennis. I was talking to Emilia recently. We were on the Y Power podcast.
Yes, we
And I've done upwards of 430 podcasts in my life. You're around that number as well, based on my calculations.
Oh, excuse me.
And I remember saying to her, like, sweetheart, like, I could literally show up tired and,
I was hungover.
And hungover
on their show.
Right. And I would still end up doing better
Sorry, guys.
than someone who is only 20 episodes in. The thing is, everyone does their best. Not everyone betters their best. Staying power is about bettering your best. We stopped the piano after 6 months because we still suck. But yet we're 10 years from Mozart. Maybe not Mozart, but you know what I'm saying? And I think that's a big, big mistake. I think it's a misunderstanding of the compound effect, honestly.
It probably is. I think at the end of the day, though, you have to be doing something you love.
Yeah.
Because if you don't enjoy it, you're not going to be willing to crawl through the mud.
We talked about this in the preamble. You said something along the lines of your goal, if your goal is to get in shape, you're going to the gym to stop going to the gym. Something along those lines.
If your goal is to go to the gym so you can stop going to the gym, you're never going to be in shape.
Right. That's fire.
And like,
how do you know when someone's like that? Because I notice that when I'm in the gym with people, like, this isn't your thing.
Honestly, it's harder now because today's the first day I've been in the gym in 3 months. You can tell, like, and we're going to do a full episode on careers and all that, but when most people are working 40 years so they can retire.
Yeah.
So how much can you love your job if it's something you want to get away from?
I know.
You're not going to, you don't have, the reason you have staying power is because you know one day you'll get to say, I don't have to show up here again. That's a different kind of staying power.
Yeah, if you're going to work so that you can make money to stop working,
Yeah.
I would argue that you probably don't love your work. I said this on the Y Power podcast too.
Y Power.
It's, if you don't want to be the best at what you do, you probably don't love it that much. Imagine wakeboarding. I was at the lake this past weekend and I saw the wakeboard and I lit up like a Christmas tree because I've always wanted to try it, and because I've been snowboarding my whole life and I genuinely think I'll be good at wakeboarding. And I've also done one water ski. Got up my first time, which was really fun.
Oh, excuse me.
Well,
You got a badass over here.
But the reason I say this is I know that I'll love it because I have a reference to snowboarding, and I love kneeboarding. I love water skiing. I love water skiing with one ski. So I know in advance that I'm going to want to be good at that. If you play Can Jam and don't care to be good at it, you probably don't love Cam Jam.
I love Can Jam.
I do too. I played this past weekend. So if you don't if you don't want to be the best at what you're doing, check in with your staying power. Like, am I here so that I can eventually leave, or am I here because I want to move in? Jim Rohn says success is finding a good place to stay. Mm-hmm. Tom Brady isn't playing football so he can stop playing football. He would have retired years ago otherwise. Yeah. 6th Super Bowl, you don't need 6 of them, right? It's because he loves the game. And I do think that staying power is a matter of, like, wanting to be the best version of yourself in that particular arena. I don't ever want to retire, genuinely. I don't ever intend on it.
I know. Yeah. And again, you're doing something you love. I think that's the first step. And you have to decide, like, what do I want to accomplish here? And I think that's the thing. Most people want to run in place for 40 years and then get off the treadmill. They're not trying to get out onto the trails and see different things. And again, I can understand, like, if you don't have the belief, if you haven't been raised to believe that you can do whatever you want, like, that's our goal. That's our goal, to help you with that. Again, we both did that.
Yeah.
Right? We chased that, and we found it, and we were like, oh, this isn't what I thought it was.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know? And that's the thing. The staying power went. Like, when all the benefits of my job went, the staying power, I was like, I'm out.
Can you go deeper into that story for the listeners that are newer?
Which one?
The one about, like, because I remember witnessing you. The moment you decided to go all in on podcasting was kind of the moment you were done at your job, even though you were still there.
I remember one day, it was literally like, after I got the 6 figures, I opened my pay stub. I overnight switched from wanting to make money to wanting to impact others. And the motivation went. It was gone. Yeah. I didn't care. I literally, if I was running the job, people would get mad at me because number one, I would never, like, milk it. Like, they would say, like, we could get an 8-hour day out of this. I don't care. I want to be out of here in 5. Like, we can be out of here in 5. I want to be out of here in 5. I don't want to be at this job any longer than I have to.
Right.
I was leaving work.
Because you were there for a different reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Once that changed, my staying power went away. Once that reason went away, so didn't my motivation. Because I wasn't inspired to do it. That's the other thing. If you're inspired to do something, the staying power is there.
Yeah.
Like, think about the hardest part of the journey for us. I mean, obviously, it's all going to be somewhat difficult in different ways. But when we're, podcasting in a basement somewhere, we're both broke, we're both single, right? Or going through breakups.
Oh, yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
That was hard.
Yeah.
And that's when you build the pillars and the foundation of staying power. If you can do it then,
I know.
You can do it when you're getting paid to be a coach, when you have your own studio, when you have amazing guests on. It's the staying power is built at the beginning when you're only doing it because you love it.
Yeah.
That's the only way to build staying power, so do it when you love it. Because if you're always hating it, you're always counting down. There's always that internal timer saying, 4 more years, 3 more years, 2 more years, 1 more year and I get to retire. 9 months, 6 months left, 4 months, 3 months, 2 months, 1 month, 2 weeks. Tomorrow's my last day. That's not staying power.
Last thing I'll say here quickly, because the timer just went off. I had a client who was in a relationship, and I'll keep this anonymous, but the relationship had a time limit right out of the gate. They were only going to basically be together for, probably 6 to 7 months, because after college they were going to go their separate ways.
A summer fling.
And I remember thinking to myself, like, I didn't know how to explain this, and I wanted to be kind, but I also wanted to be truthful. I think that's a huge mistake, because you're not going to invest nearly as much. Like, Emilia, I genuinely want her to be my future wife. I've told her that. I've told her family that. It's just what I want. I'm going to invest 1,000,000 times more into that relationship rather than, I'm going to try this out for a couple weeks. Your level of commitment out of the gate is going to dictate the journey. The moment Kevin's priority shifted from making money to having an impact is the moment everything changed.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you weren't making that much impact at your job compared to podcasting. You went to the thing that had staying power. Why? Because your goal was to grow and contribute. If you change the goal, everything else changes.
Well, think of it like this, and we got to go because the camera will shut off at some point.
Right.
If there's a time limit on your relationship, you go from saying, how do I fix this, to I only have to deal with this for X longer.
It's 2 different lives.
And I think that's the way a lot of people are living a lot of parts of their lives. Mm-hmm. So, and it's our goal to make sure that you guys at least get to decide. At least you're aware that there's another way. If everything we say you don't like and you say, I don't want to do that, that's fine. That's on you. It's our goal to make sure that you understand that there is another way to do that. That's what Alan and I are doing. Our relationships are designed that way. Fitness, even though you can't tell by looking at me right now, but that's going to soon. We're going to be
For
jacked.
those of you listening, he grabs his gut.
I grab my gut with both hands.
Was that an ab or a gut?
That was a gut.
Oh,
I don't have any abs
no
right
abs.
now, but I will soon.
Abs singular.
The diet has begun. All right, we got to get out of here.
Yep.
What are we doing? We're doing
coaching.
Talk about that.
Okay. All right. So if you're out there right now and you want to learn how to design a life around your passions of staying power, Kevin and I are both doing dual and individual coaching. So if you go to the hyperconsciouspodcast.com, you can click on, I believe, Hire Us or one of the other tabs. Maybe it's a coaching tab.
Yes.
But we have it set up to where Calendly, it links to our calendars, so you can set up a free 30-minute call with me, Kevin, or me and Kevin. Please do that. Or you can reach out to us on the Gram and also Masterminds.
Masterminds, yes. So we are recording this on Monday, and we do our mastermind 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You guys actually just heard a mastermind. We were talking about selling with integrity. Tonight, we are going to be talking about manifestation. How do you actually take something from your imagination and bring it into your reality? And up next, you are going to hear us talk about why awareness is everything. Hyperconscious is acute awareness. Awareness is the beginning of everything. Until you know why something is or isn't the way it is, you don't really know how to approach it. So we're going to dive into some actual examples of that. And we love you guys. We hope you enjoyed. And we will talk to you on Friday.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.